And now, a D&D player that actually almost died rather than stop playing. 10 sand dollars if you can guess what he was dying of. Roll post. I have a player who doesn't look right. Pale, sweating, and confused. Head was clearly not in the game, but he keeps swearing up and down that he is just fine. Just, quote, ate something bad, it'll pass, kind of thing. He's going to the bathroom every 30 to 45 minutes. We're going through our third combat encounter when he gets up, suddenly rushing to the restroom and clearly puking. I go back and check on him cleaning up, and he makes excuses saying that he already feels better. About 15-ish minutes later, he heads back into the bathroom again. His wife, who is also playing, says that he keeps having to pee every 30 to 45 minutes. Wow, those symptoms sound extremely familiar. He comes back out and sits down, looking the same as before, and I stop the game. I ask him if he's been peeing a lot lately. He says yeah. I ask him if he's been extremely thirsty lately. He says yeah. You know where this is going. I hand him my blood sugar tester and told him, let's skip the argument and prove me wrong, will you? He starts going off about how he doesn't have diabetes and that he just ate something wrong, and the reason he's thirsty is because of blah blah blah. I just smugly tell him to prove me wrong. So he does, and I hear a sound my blood sugar tester has never made for me before. It just says hi. On my tester, if it says hi, it means it's over 500 blood sugar. For those who do not know, this is head to the hospital right now territory. Over 500 BGC for too long, and you start going into organ failure. He wants to continue playing. No, I am not kidding you. He wants to continue playing. At first, I go along with it, and we finish out the combat when I kind of snap to my senses. I forcibly ended the game and made it very clear to his wife that he will die or be permanently changed if he does not go to the hospital now. I convince his wife, and he starts acting like a child, saying he will refuse to go inside and to just leave him alone. I remind him that we work at the same place and that his insurance is PPO like mine, so a hospital visit won't break the bank. His wife finally got it in her head I am being deadly serious and lays down the law on him, but she says that she will call her family doctor and visit them whenever they're open. This starts an argument with me, her, and the other players, whom all saw what I went through before finding out I was type 2. So she compromises and calls her doctor's 24/7 line. When she tells the 24/7 line that his BGC was over 500, the lady asks for her location and if she's close to a hospital. The seriousness of the situation sunk into both of them at this point, and they went to the hospital. All throughout, he was angry that we were not continuing the game. It wasn't until he kind of admitted to himself that, no, he was not fine, that he realized something was wrong. He got put on metformin, which means he spent roughly 2 months on the toilet until his body acclimated to the drug's side effects. Okay, does anyone else get vibes like that one character in a zombie movie who refuses to admit that they've been bit? No, I'm fine, I swear. In all seriousness, diabetes is the silent killer. Few get as many warning signs as this guy did. It doesn't help that poorly controlled diabetes can cause delirium, so it wasn't really his fault. He very well might have died if he didn't show up for D&D that night, so props to the DM and everybody who gave him that final push to go to the hospital. You guys are heroes. This video isn't over though. OP had another experience. Roll post. This was a very long time ago. When I was 26, I decided to quit smoking, after smoking since 16, cold turkey. After 40-ish false starts, I finally beat it, but it made me a very frustrated, fly-off-the-handle a-hole that nobody wanted to deal with. Longtime friends just learned to avoid me or ignore me if I started to go into a nick fit, and that's how they would deal. Until it got a little too much for my D&D group. So we're in the middle of a 3.5 campaign, and I'm playing a halfling bard. I do not remember exactly how I pissed the host off to the point of no return, but it happened. Apparently he had told someone he never wanted me around again. So next week when I showed up, he was acting strange around me. He kept getting annoyed when I spoke, kept assuming I would do certain things, and even had the DM tell him to chill out as he was being annoying. That was the final straw. This dude gets up, slamming his hands on the table, and screams no, points his finger at me, and tells everyone that I'm the problem, not him. He goes on this long tirade that I get angry too often and frustrating to talk with, and this is why he never wanted me over again. I spoke up and said, if you didn't want me here, why didn't you tell me? He says he did, says he texted and called me. Then immediately said he called another player, then stopped. Realized he only told his wife, who told no one. This is a nuanced issue. On one hand, OP self-admittedly was being aggressive and unfriendly, so people wanting him gone are not necessarily wrong for wanting that. On the other hand, flying off the handle and not communicating this either directly or at least to the DM was a huge mistake and hurts his overall case. A huge decider of who's in the right or wrong here would be determined by how exactly the OP behaved, but we don't have that much to go off of, so let's continue. He then made it about me, said I should have known I was unwelcome, said my behavior would not be welcome anywhere except a biker bar. He just kept freaking out while I was packing up my stuff and left. Okay, once again, what that guy's after isn't unreasonable. OP's been an a-hole for 5 months, but the way that guy is behaving totally is unreasonable. Expecting anyone to be able to just up and read your mind and know that they should leave because of how one person lashes out is unrealistic. My friends, well, see, they were actually on my side here. They had seen me go from completely unreasonable to frustrating to be around to finally someone they learned to ignore as I got closer and closer to beating the habit. They were telling him what I was going through and how I'd been close to 5 months at that point when I walked out. I actually wasn't mad. It was more of a self-reflection moment for me. I thought I had myself under control, but apparently I was a hassle to deal with at this time. My group actually decided to host at my place and cut the dude out from then on due to being an ass about it. Okay, it's really cool of his friends to be tolerant and stick by him, but I have feelings about throwing the other guy out. You see, he was acting out really poorly, but they forgave OP for it for 5 whole months. The fact that they can't or won't facilitate that for the other guy just feels wrong. It's not my table, and I don't have the whole context. Maybe the other guy was also short-fused, but with none of the baggage of addiction to help people feel sympathetic. Or maybe there were out-of-game things that even the OP didn't know about. But judging by what I know, I would have tried to at least have both parties apologize for their behavior and move forward with both of them. That's just a Talking Crab's 2 cents. Anyways, roll post. Not D&D, but I like spreading happiness. My local game store has been open for a few weeks now, and my friends and I have been overjoyed to meet up again in a gaming den with leather chairs, cheap snacks, music, TVs, etc. We've been playing D&D, Shadowrun, and Warhammer there. OP's living the dream. Now, to understand this story, you need to understand a running joke that I think most people may have lost the origin of. For years I've been the edgelord of my circle of friends. The source of this joke comes from the fact that I never really had a, quote, fuck you dad, or a life is pain phase. But I grew up with Tim Burton, horror movies, heavy metal, candles, and books since we couldn't afford to have lights on all the time and computers were still really expensive at the time. And I began to wear makeup from a young age after helping my mom do her makeup for church. Essentially, I didn't set out to become an edgelord, but naturally gravitated towards dark makeup, horror movies, Marilyn Manson, and the Dark Eldar as I got older. It's always been a shock for people to meet me, then react when I'm normal when speaking. So when we play games, I joke about being super evil and stuff. In Warhammer 40k, for example, my Dark Eldar warhost is always out to do some of the most despicable, horrible, cruel, and inhumane shit you can possibly imagine. Got that? All good. So, a few days ago, I was sitting in the game store with my friends, getting ready to play 40k. And while they were playing a game, I was fixing up a few of my older models I've been meaning to repaint. There I am, sitting with my paints, playing Marilyn Manson on my phone, and suddenly I hear from beside me, "Excuse me, ma'am, how are you doing that?" Insert a young ginger lad I shall dub Michael for this story. He looks exactly like Ron Weasley from Chamber of Secrets with Harry's glasses and the kind of acne Hollywood doesn't like to say exists. I chuckle and ask what he's talking about, and the poor lad was shocked for a moment when he heard my voice and realized I was a dude. After a laugh, he asked me to show him how I got my metallic, glossy look for my units. He then showed me his small team of Tau Fire Warriors and an Ethereal, a sizable starter army of around 500 points I'd guess, and they could have used some thinning. Before I could say anything, the guy next to me says as such, and immediately you can see Michael curl up like someone just kicked his puppy. This is when I channeled my inner Sean Bean. I'm sorry, were you a master painter at 13? I actually don't know how old Michael is, but I guess he's around that age and he never corrected me. That got him to shrug and shut up. While my friends were still playing, I broke out the Windex and a toothbrush, helped him scrape off the globs of paint, then basically showed him how to prime and countercoat, how to wet wash, and how to do a wet detail finish if he wanted to make his guys look dirty while retaining a clean style. It only took us maybe an hour and some change, and he had a cool team of guys ready. He asked then if, once they were dried in about 20 minutes, if he could use them to play with us, since we were technically there as a gaming group / club thing hosted on Discord. I said sure and went back to finishing up my own guys. Cue the that guys. Not everyone in this gaming group is a personal friend of mine, and some of them are definitely the kind of guys RPG horror stories warned you about. Typically, I ignored them, but given the fact that this store is just reopening now, everyone is crowding in. When Michael talks about joining, one camp of that guys were talking about his sept being tiny and not very optimal since it's just infantry with barely any drones. He said it was a birthday gift and he built it the best he could, but they tried telling him to get mechs and more drones, to which he just whimpered, but the sets only came with these drones. On the other side, there were a camp of the aforementioned people who were in on the edgelord joke, but didn't understand it, and were taunting him with in-universe character threats like, "Ooh man, Roby's coven will fucking skin your dudes alive," or "Just wait until he leaves your blueberries screaming in the dirt," and shit like that. Clearly, Michael is not taking this well. He's looking like he's about to cry, and I suppress the urge to stab someone with a paintbrush and invite him to sit down so I can help him go over his Tau and make them a bit more effective with upgrades and extra war gear and stuff. He likes the fact that I can help him explain how tactics work, though he's still nervous since he's never played before and wants to watch me play around first. I say okay, and it's about time for my turn anyway. So it was my Prophets of Flesh versus Cult of the Bladed Cog. This feels like the plot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or one of those other product placement anime, and I am loving it. Makeup-wearing, crazy-haired gamer with the heart of gold, and his younger, nerdy sidekick, challenging all of the people who doubted them. And now, to see the results of the battle. I mention this specifically since the Dark Eldar and Gene Stealer cultists have an in-universe thingy going on, but unless you know the lore very well, you're not going to understand that, so I begin playing. I'm explaining the phases and such to Michael for the first round, though he clearly doesn't like the game stopping for me to explain things to him since it puts all of the attention on him. Instead, I keep playing and let him catch on. While this is happening, however, the that guys pipe up once again and start joking about ripping apart hybrids, stealing organs, grafting their extra parts on my guys, stealing their bionics, that sort of thing, whenever I rushed my pain engines into melee. Normally, I jokingly describe my pain engines rending their enemies with their massive claws in an assault, or my grotesques tearing their limbs out from their sockets and hucking limp, quivering meat sacks around the battlefield. But clearly that was not the time. Instead, we finished up the game, I began harvesting the bodies, and we moved along. OP getting his first big win under his belt and commanding the admiration of his small orange sidekick, the two are now ready to battle side by side. But only time will tell how that goes. Roll post. Next up, Michael asks if he can go since his guys are dry, and he has a pretty good understanding of how to play. I'm fine with that, and so are the others since we're not totally evil. Then the that guys piped up yet again. See, we played 2,000 point games for the most part, but Michael's entire force with upgrades wasn't even 1,000. Again, I think it was maybe 2 to 3 boxes of Fire Warriors and an Ethereal HQ. I'm not a Tau expert though. Still, the attitude quickly jumped to, well, we can't let this kid play since he doesn't have a real army. Matching his small force with an equal force was also out of the question since that would be depriving his opponent of a, quote, real game. Yeah, seriously. Now one of the that guys begins talking in a ridiculous girly voice, going on about how he wanted to purify the filthy child of his Xenos taint. And honestly, it sounded like he just wanted to throw his 2,000 plus Sisters of Battle order at this new kid with a basic combat patrol. Then another guy starts joking about how it would be an easy purge. This ruffles my razor blades. Hey, if you want 2,000 points, can I just group up with him? That guy. That would make it a 2v1 game though. Yeah, but the armies would be balanced. That guy. We don't do 2v1s, man. I don't mind if you team up, but then it would have to be 2v2. So that guy and a second Sisters player team up. Yes, to make the game fair, 2 full Sisters of Battle armies are ganging up on a new kid's quarter-sized army and a single normal army. To make this even worse, some of the that guys actually began calling me out for teaming up with another player, talking about how stupid it is that Dark Eldar would team up with Tau. Again, there's lore reasons for this, but I genuinely don't care, and Michael just thought he was getting teased by these assholes twice his age. Alright, Crabos, this is the time where you get to play my favorite game, What Happens Next? Do A, the main characters win spectacularly against all odds, or B, like Rocky, they lose the battle but win at life with heart and friendship. If you guess correctly, you get a sand dollar. If you guess wrong, you have to like the video. Them's the rules. Place your bets because here we go. Roll post. Commence game. Michael does pretty good with his fire warriors. He basically formed a firing line from the edge of the board while I moved my pain engines, grotesques, and racks to tangle up the sisters in melee. When Seraphim got past the melee line, I left my raiders in the back for Michael's warriors and they relocated out of their range while still being able to fire at the sisters. Basically, Michael was able to gun down the sisters at range and they couldn't get into melee since my wall of flesh was holding them down. This worked well and we ended up actually winning despite the point difference. This actually upsets the 2 that guys we're playing against. They start getting defensive and tried passing the loss off as a joke, something that only happened because, yeah, if the Drukhari and the Tau actually work together, sure, but that's stupid and doesn't happen. Me. Of course they could work together. It's a big galaxy with a lot of shit going on and warp fuckery and cloning and all that crap. Don't rain on his victory, man. That guy. Why though? The Dark Eldar hate everyone. Why would they ever team up with the Tau? Me. They saw the Tau fighting humans and wanted to join in. Easy food, easy specimens for research. That guy. What, and they wouldn't turn on the Tau? Why fight the Sisters of Battle? Me. Because I felt like killing something beautiful. That was the dumbest, cheesiest edge line I could think of, and it actually shut them up from its sheer stupidity. Finally, the that guys just waved us off, grabbed their models, and cleared the table. Meanwhile, Michael's happy that I helped him and amazed that we won. In honor of his first victory, some of my actual friends and I chipped in to get him some more fire warriors and 2 mechs that my Tau playing friend assures me are good. I know this isn't D&D related, but I felt like I had to post it after I just saw a Discord message on the game group server. One of my friends invited Michael and he showed me the new models all painted using the style I taught him. He followed it up with a post challenging anyone who dare calls his boys blueberries. I wanted to stand up and say, "Fuck yeah, Michael! Let's go!" Now I'm just waiting for their tournament arc. Seriously, between not only sticking up for the little guy, but also winning, these guys deserve their own anime. I think that's a good time to close this story. If you enjoyed and want more stories like it, then click one of these lovely boxes to my left. Till next time.